Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Franchise Hockey Manager 8 playthrough of the New York Islanders. We are in the early stages of the 2023 offseason. Wanted to update everyone on what has happened. Before we got to July 1st, we extended Barry Trotz as well as several assistant coaches and scouts. And then thinking about our roster more specifically, we did make an important move. We extended Matthew Barzal for 2 years at $10.35 million a year. Critical player on our team, most talented player on our team. And then another key extension that we made was Oliver Wahlstrom. Signed him for 5 years at a little over $2.8 million a year. So he will be with us through the prime of his career, hopefully in his mid to late 20s. Also extended several younger defensemen. No major players on the main NHL roster, with the exception of Andrew Peak, 25-year-old who we did extend. You can see $1.95 million for the next 3 years, along with several prospects. We did not extend goalie Semyon Varlamov, 35 years old, who was looking for $6 million a year. And after all of that, the good news as we headed into the end of June was that I received a 3-year contract extension as general manager. So hopefully we'll be in the seat here with the Islanders, and we will turn them into a playoff team and eventually a Stanley Cup winner. Now, when the year moved to the new fiscal year in July, we did find out that even though he had just signed an extension, Barry Trotz decided to retire. And Varlamov also announced his retirement after we decided not to extend him. But as I mentioned, we did get a 3-year extension, looking to continue rebuilding the team this year. And with Trotz leaving, we needed to hire a new coach. So we did do that, and we probably got, just in terms of the pure numbers that FHM8 uses to determine the success of their coaches, probably got about the best one we could get. Hired Alain Vigneault, had been fired by the Flyers last year, so we signed him to a 4-year contract. You can see very good at his coaching ratings, and the miscellaneous ratings needing to actually manage the team are also generally very strong. So we'll give him a chance to bounce back in his career with us. You can see that we got a $1.95 million extension. So we will be here for the next couple of years, and that will be good news for us also. I guess it was technically a 3-year extension when we signed it, but because it was given to us at the end of June of last year, I guess 1 year has already come off of that, which is kind of seems like a little bit of a flaw in the program. But regardless, we will move on. So looking at the roster, have a little bit of cap space, although you can see we've only got 21 players under contract right now, and it's not certainly the actual 23-man roster. Tikkanen, a young goalie that we've had overseas the last couple of years, came back and is on our roster now, but very unlikely that he will be our backup goalie. Realistically, we will either have to sign someone to back up Sorokin or Jacob Skarek, who played a little bit 3 games last year, and you can see did a decent job for us with the Islanders, is another potential option for us coming out of the minor league system, unless we can find a more attractive option in free agency. But we are getting to the point where we're going to have to make some hard decisions with some of these older players on our team. Bailey is going to be a real difficult choice for us. $5 million contract. This is the last year of it, fortunately. 33 years old, extremely popular, assistant captain. Works very well with a lot of key players on the team. But he is still a winger who, hasn't scored double-digit goals for 3 straight seasons now. So, given 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 the amount of money that we're paying him, may have to think about doing something with him, unfortunately. Anders Lee, Kyle Palmieri, Casey Cizikas, all kind of in similar situations as older players making good money in some cases for the next several years. If we really want to make a significant move to improve the team, we may need to do something that's going to upset the fans. And you can see we did get a bounce back in fan happiness with that lovely new season optimism, but a 36 level on a 100-point scale is not positive. So clearly if we start trading away players who have been here a long time, who are very popular, that will not go over well with the fans, but it may be what we need to do in the coming months as we get ready for the 2023-2024 season. We've kind of taken a look around the trade block as well as the potential free agents, and there's nothing earth-shattering out there. Clearly, the trade block, I'm sure, will be more populated as we get further through free agency. Actually, there are some great players on the trade block, but their contracts are $10 million plus a year and not something that would be easy for us to fit in. Our big decision right now is what to do with Matthew Savoy, who we picked with the second pick in the entry draft just about a year ago. You can see that had a decent year in Winnipeg in the WHL, but he's a 2.5-star player now with potential to get up to 5 stars. A pure center at this point. If he could play a little better on the wing, would feel a little better about potentially signing him right now rather than letting him spend another year in juniors. He's still got a decent offensive profile, especially for a 19-year-old. Getting more physical, mental still is kind of his weakness, and not a great defensive player. Kind of inclined to potentially leave him down in the juniors for one more year before signing him to his first contract. I think my thought right now is that we're probably going to end up keeping Bailey, just letting him play out his contract for this final year. Which will certainly open up a little bit of money for our roster, but also a space on the NHL roster. And we have made extension offers to Sorokin and Beauvillier and Simon Holmstrom. So those are the 3 key guys that have contracts expiring this year that we'd like to add. The other one that we certainly need to think about is Sean Walker, 28-year-old defenseman. We traded for him a couple years ago. $3.6 million is not all that high for a player of his quality, a good, solid defenseman. Our scouts think he can be a solid player on most teams, first or second pairing on most teams. So probably going to make an offer to him also. Had some injuries last year, you can see, which kept him to 49 games and was not as also didn't play as many minutes as he did the year before, and his game rating went down. So he's a tougher call for us. We're probably not going to find anyone better than him in free agency, but paying him $1 million more under the salary cap, potentially than we're paying him this year, where his salary is going to go from about 2.65 to up in the mid threes, is still a decision we have to think about. Well, we've made it to August, and honestly, the free agency has been a bit quiet for us. Haven't made any major moves. Honestly, it's been younger players that we have been focused on. If you look at our signings, at the beginning of free agency, we signed Bobby Brink out of the University of Denver as a free agent. And we also signed young Xavier Bourgault, who is a free agent out of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. So I think both of them have potential. Bourgault is going to start in the minors. Brink could be up with the big team if he's as good as we think he is. And then we also did pull a bit of an audible. We did sign our first round pick from a year ago, Matthew Savoy. Figured he's going to turn 20 this season. And when we were working on our finances, we decided to bite the bullet and do maximum player development, spend more money on that this season. So we figured it made sense to just get him onto the roster as soon as possible. So certainly not a full-blown youth movement, but Jacob Skarek will likely be our backup goalie this year behind Sorokin. And then you can see among our forwards, we have Brink, who I mentioned, and Savoy, who I mentioned, as rookies that will potentially likely be on the team. And then also Simon Holmstrom, who's been in our minor league system for a couple of seasons, was up briefly, as you can see, with the Islanders a season ago. 4 potential rookies on the team at this point. We decided we're probably not going to try to extend Sean Walker, and we've actually put him on the trade block. $3.5 million is a little much for him given his skill set and his age. And then we also do have, when we are looking at our overall system, you can see that we've got a lot of young defenders who could potentially come up and help us in the coming years with Alex Cotton, Samuel Baldock, Ben Marejas, and Jet Wu, all in the minor league system. Relatively young, 22, 23, 24-year-old players. Figure that next year, if we need to have, well, we will need to have a 7th defenseman on the roster, but feel that at least one of those players should be ready to go, hopefully. Infilin is a much more economical option than Walker is right now, and if someone gives us a real interesting trade offer on him in the coming weeks, we will certainly think about moving him on either in the preseason or during the season. But all 6, the other 6 of our defensemen on the NHL roster are all signed for next season, so we're really only going to have one opening. And the thought is that in a budget cap, salary cap league, you're going to have to make some hard decisions. So we will either trade Walker away this season or let him go at the end of this season and replace him, hopefully, with someone who's more cost effective from the minor leagues, and also, hopefully younger and getting better. Well, we made it into August, and I guess our kind of perhaps unintentional youth movement has kind of continued with a couple of transactions. Signed Josh Doan as a free agent. He's going to be playing at Worcester for us in the ECHL rather than Bridgeport, which he's probably not thrilled with after spending some time in the AHL last year, but maybe has potential to develop into something over the next couple years, and is certainly at least organizational depth for us. And then we had put Timashov on the trade block, given that we thought we'd be spending more time this season on the youthful players. Didn't really expect much of anything to come out from it, but we got an interesting offer from Calgary. William Stromgren, who is got potential. You can see 1.5 stars, 4-star potential, 20 years old, Swedish. Got to decide whether we want to bring him over this year to play in the minors for us, or let him spend another year in Sweden, which I think is kind of his preference right now. obviously uncertain that he's ever going to develop into more than just a part at the Major League NHL level. But given that Timashov really had no role on our team at all, figured we would at least make the trade for someone with a little more upside. So that's where we are as we head into September and get close to preseason. And you can see from a development perspective, the move towards more youthful players is probably a good thing for us because, Josh Bailey, who we've talked about probably in his last season with us, you can see that he's slowing down literally. Same thing with Anders Lee, our captain, who's also 33 years old. And then defenseman Eric Gustafson, who had his first season with us last year. Players that are getting older. So I think that it's important that we try to move to a more youthful roster over the next couple of seasons. We are at the start of the preseason. We've made just a couple other signings over the last several weeks, really just for organizational depth. You can see we signed Matthew Joseph, a versatile forward, can play any position, to a minimum contract. So likely will be in Bridgeport, but certainly would be somebody that if we need help due to injuries, could certainly contribute at the NHL level. Then we also re-signed Colin Adams, who had been in our system for several years, primarily playing at Worcester. We'll move him up to Bridgeport this year, but again, he's really just organizational depth. And then more recently, we signed goalie Brett Brochu, a 21-year-old with a little bit of potential. Our backup goalie spot is going to be a little weaker this year with Jacob Skarek after Varlamov retired, and we didn't really have money to pay big in free agency, and there really weren't a ton of great options in free agency. So brought on Brochu, will be in Bridgeport, but you'll see when you look at our goalie roster shortly that he may be the option if Skarek or our starter gets start. I don't know why I cannot think of Sorokin's name right now. Anywho, problem is Brochu came into camp out of shape, so we're going to criticize him internally. You're a marginal player at this point. You might as well be working as hard as possible. He responded poorly to the criticism about coming in fat and out of shape, so Brett's career with the Islanders is not off to a good start, but you can see here that Sorokin is obviously our unquestioned starter, great goalie. Skarek is going to be our backup this year as a rookie, and then our other depth is Tikkanen and Brochu. So although Brochu is unfit right now, he may be the one that we would go to at the NHL level if something happened to Sorokin or Skarek. You can see we've got 38 players in camp, so we're going to be making a lot of cuts, but have a lot of rookies, as you can see by the asterisks, or potential rookies, since a lot of them are going to end up back in the minors when we make our final cuts. But interesting in hopefully infusing the roster with some youth this season, and given that I mentioned we're spending a lot on development, hopefully those players who are on the NHL roster will be materially better in 5 or 6, 7 months when we're in our playoff push than they are right now, and hopefully getting more playing time from some of the older players who are on the backsides of their career. So we will call it a wrap for the 2023 offseason. In our next episode, we will be back with the 2023 to 2024 season results. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you are enjoying it, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Have a great day.